I would recommend listening to this after you see the movie. This is your last chance to get out if you don't want something about the movie to come out. So, gut reaction right away, thumbs up, thumbs down, somewhere in between.
For me, it's somewhere in between. It's one of those, it's good, not great. I expected a little more, and I didn't quite get it, but I can't say that I left disappointed, because there is a lot of things to like about The Gentleman.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that for me, I didn't really expect a whole lot. So when I got out of the theater, I would say it actually exceeded my expectations. I actually thought it was more enjoyable than I thought it would be. I kind of went in just thinking like, it's going to be a big, like it's just going to be a Guy Ritchie cool flick with, Matthew McConaughey and these guys. But
just looking pretty.
Pretty much. But I thought it was a little more than that. And I thought, I was afraid that the story was going to be kind of convoluted, but it felt a little simpler than I thought it was going to be. And I felt like it delivered.
For the same reason you liked it, I think it's the same reason why it doesn't quite reach the level that I was hoping for as far as just overall storytelling and entertainment. Yeah. I don't want it to be confused. I am glad, you kind of keep it, somewhat where you can comprehend it and you're not getting too much all at once. But it is a simple story, and I feel like within that story there's not much substance, and without that, no matter who's playing what character, you don't really, they're not utilized in the same way as if the story was told differently and maybe a little, and like I said, have a little more meat on its bones, I would say.
Do you think they tried to get too many guys in there, too many characters?
Yeah, I mean, partly, but another part is using what they have to tell something that's a little more intriguing, or a little something that might be a little more challenging. Because Guy Ritchie has done that in the past, and this one is more of a kind of the watered down Guy Ritchie of, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. That Guy Ritchie.
I thought it was a little less violent than I thought it was going to be.
There was a lot of talking.
There was a lot of talking.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there isn't a lot. And actually, there's even a reference in the movie where Hugh Grant says, well, okay, we just need a little action. And, so it's almost like they're kind of self-aware of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised on that it seemed like a lot of just storytelling and crisscrossing without really getting too much blood on their hands.
One thing I really liked about it, too, was the style of the movie. Everybody, it was like a damn GQ ad.
Yes.
Matthew McConaughey had on his plaid suits.
Yes. He knew he looked damn good, too.
Yeah.
You could tell.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the guys, Charlie Hunnam, Hugh Grant even, Dry Eye.
Colin Farrell had his own.
Colin Farrell, like the style, I don't know if you would necessarily call them costumes, because it did just kind of look like contemporary style, but
it's very English.
Yeah, I loved the look of it. I loved some of the big estates that they were filming at, and the scenery, and getting into kind of like the nitty gritty city areas of England and that sort of vibe, like the kids from the gutter out there that were just nasty and looked like they were going to roll up on old boy and try to take his watch, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I liked the vibe of the movie overall. Could have done without some of the random camera special effects. I felt like they were just kind of thrown in to make it look cool.
Oh yeah, I think to add a little glitz into the glamour, probably. Yeah. Well, my fiance would tell you that she loves their accents. She loved their clothes. She loved the houses, the mansions, the furniture.
Yeah.
So the whole atmosphere, it is cool, and it is something that Guy Ritchie very much knows what he's doing in that department for sure. But I do think sometimes it can be a distraction. I think early on when they're kind of throwing some other stuff in there, when he's like, lights, start the camera. So there's a lot of different stuff that I think he's trying to throw in there. I don't know if he's just trying to be cute about it, but also I think it's a little bit of distraction.
To me, yeah, distraction's a great word. I felt like it kind of took me out of that conversation, which in that point on the movie, it's pretty important, because you're getting introduced to what's going on here, And I very much felt like it took you out of that moment.
I agree. Especially when you're, and what's weird is that's never even attempted again. They just do it at the beginning when getting that, pivotal information going, as Hugh Grant basically is a storyteller for the most part.
Yeah.
You're in it, and then you're just seeing these other things that, I wouldn't leave being like, you know what they should have done.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he also used the little, the I don't know what you call it, the picture.
Like
just,
the different, like the width of it. He went to widescreen basically.
Yeah.
I think it was just trying, him getting fancy.
Getting cute. Mm-hmm. I liked the dialogue, but to your point about the accents, I feel like it could have been anybody. Like, I just like listening to very thick English, Scottish accents, and like Colin Farrell he could have been speaking gibberish, and I would have been like, damn, that's cool as fuck.
I also like when Matthew McConaughey tries to say English words like telly.
Chap.
Yeah, thanks, chap, and it just doesn't sound. Doesn't sound right. But even like Hugh Grant has, like, his accent is different in this movie.
Yeah.
He's different in all kinds of ways in this movie, but that was one thing that I really caught on that I kind of liked. I think Charlie Hunnam, I think that's kind of what he sounds like.
Yeah, I know. He seemed like that. Just seemed like,
and that may have been what really Colin Farrell was like for the most part.
I think it is pretty close to it.
I think so too.
We are going to take this opportunity to take our first break of the show, and when we get back, we'll talk about the performances by this legendary cast of guys when we get back on the Vick's Flicks podcast. Back here on the Vick's Flicks podcast, Stoney Keeley, Brandon Vick, reviewing The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's latest flick, in theaters now. Man, they sold you Matthew McConaughey, and granted, I don't think he's bad in the movie, but the way I told it to you is like it was Lincoln commercial Matthew McConaughey.
At the beginning, sorry to interrupt, at the beginning when he's at this bar, and they say, like, I honest to God thought if they say something about a Lincoln, I'll believe it's a commercial.
Yeah, I mean, and he's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he was tested too much with this role.
Matthew McConaughey was just being almost Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, pretty much.
All the way down to the weed part.
And I felt like part of his outfits and the plaid suits and stuff like that, I feel like that was designed like, okay, well, he's just going to be Matthew McConaughey, but we can give him these suits and it'll be distinctive. Like, that'll be a character trait of his. And I
think he dressed like that anyway.
Yeah, probably.
You're not fooling me.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I think he was good, but I think you were kind of sold this bill of goods as though this was going to be.
He's like the ringleader. You think he is anyway.
Yeah.
Which he is the boss guy in the movie.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily mean that he's in the center focus of it all.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't think he really commanded the screen when he was on it.
No, there were parts of it that I liked, especially about King of the Jungle stuff.
Yeah.
That he would say. But it wasn't, it's not what you would think for somebody that is, I mean, his character is larger than life and hangs over the whole movie, but he's kind of in and out, to be honest.
Yeah. The scene for me was when he confronts Matthew near the end, and when they're talking business, and then he starts talking about his wife. And the shift in his eyes alone, that was something that got me. I was like, damn, that was cool.
I did like that.
I liked the scene where he sat down at the table with Lord George. But again, it was still kind of like typical gangster shit.
Yeah.
Cool guy Matthew McConaughey. But
same thing with Dry Eye.
Yeah.
When they first met, and then I do like the part where you think he may have done something, but he really didn't. That's the part where I kind of dug it. So I mean, he definitely has some moments, and it's not a knock on him, but he's not the MVP of The Gentleman for me.
I would hard agree with that, which kind of segues into the next question I want to ask you. If it's not Matthew McConaughey, like we thought it was going to be, whose movie do you think this was?
To me, it's an easy answer, and a lot of people may not might be surprised. I don't know, but I definitely think it's Hugh Grant's movie.
Yeah. I told you I think it was Hugh Grant and Charlie Hunnam's movie.
Charlie Hunnam does a nice job.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was as interested in everything he was doing, because he does kind of play the bodyguard type.
Yeah.
But I was kind of more into Hugh Grant, and when Colin Farrell showed up, Colin Farrell made use of every scene he was in, and he's
absolutely.
he is kind of the comic relief a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does go from the clothing, but also the way he handles the situation and what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed both of them guys. But yeah, I would say Hugh Grant is definitely the MVP.
It's interesting how this works, and we talked about this before we started recording. This movie was billed as Matthew McConaughey and Charlie Hunnam with Colin Farrell. That rang a little bit true. You understand that?
Yeah.
They also said with Hugh Grant, and
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like, it doesn't make sense. Hugh Grant has such a huge role in this movie, and he just kills it.
I loved everything. He is your narrator. Now, whether you can trust that or not, that's part of the fun in the movie. But he plays just a slimy guy and still charming as hell. And I feel like Hugh Grant knew it, nailed it, and he definitely is the highlight of the movie for sure.
The reason I said I think it was Hugh Grant and Charlie Hunnam's movie is because the play between the two. That was kind of like the role that Hunnam played to Grant. Grant was steering the ship. You were watching the conversation between the two guys, and it was like you were gravitating towards Grant, but I think what really sold it was Charlie Hunnam's Ray. Was that his character's name?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
The two characters, the back and forth between the two, and you find out obviously later on in the movie what's going on between the two, a little bit of gamesmanship.
And you kind of know up front as they begin to talk that there's somebody, they both have something in it, and rather, you try to separate, I guess, from fact and from fiction. But I do agree. I think some of the best scenes are actually the ones that, while they're trying to tell you the story and set up the plot and introduce you to the characters, but even as it goes along and what you see, and I mean, I think the cool thing is that, and a lot of times it is in a lot of Guy Ritchie's movies like this, is there is this gangster machismo thing to it, but there's also a lot of, like, they're in on the joke. Like, they are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And most of the characters have something about them that is a little bit absurd. And I think that's what makes it. But I think for Hugh Grant, is he's able to use that, but you're still, like you said, you're still with him, and you're still listening, and he's not a great guy, but you don't mind. Like, he's almost one that you root for because his character.
Yeah. See,
I think that's what the part of it is for me, is that you have, a few really rich characters, and there's others that, glad you came and played a little bit, but not everybody got that. And I think that's where Colin Farrell did a lot with what he had, and Hugh Grant, I think, had I didn't think his role would be like it is.
I didn't either.
Like, I thought, oh, okay, he's going to be in a few scenes, he's going to set stuff up, but he actually, almost makes the movie.
Yeah.
And so I was quite impressed with him.
And to your point, I feel like one of those characters was Dry Eye. He was there, but.
And I kind of feel like Matthew. It's not that they don't serve a purpose, but it's just that it just seems so. It's like, for a movie that has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, there's a lot of stuff it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's not that surprising.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I left thinking, you know what, it was pretty good, but I think there was really a shot at it being something grittier and better and a little bit more unpredictable than some of the stuff that was thrown in there.
What was it rated?
It was rated R.
Well, yeah, it had to have been, because they say fuck a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And you only get one in PG-13, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
Which Guy Ritchie had. I mean, it has to be rated R.
There was an element of that sort of gritty vibe that was missing. It felt like it was more refined, classy, and that was kind of reflected in the imagery too, like we were talking about earlier.
It is like there is like I don't know if it can be such a sophisticated mobster type movie, but that's what it is, and it's almost, and again, it's kind of just a watered down former Guy Ritchie movie. Like Snatch and them always had that, and so I don't know what it is. I don't know if just because, like you said, he kind of shows a little bit of the mean streets, but also he shows the complete opposite, where people are living extravagantly.
And I mean, ultimately, like, the story is about a guy that's gone soft and wants to go live a happy life with his wife.
Right.
Like, that's not, it's not the premise
That's not
for
the
a lot of
yeah.
gangster movies.
Good
so
point.
I think it's a fair criticism. I don't know. I don't know. That crooked smile of Hugh Grant.
It is, and I mean the way he's flirty the whole time.
Yeah.
While he's being a real prick.
I know.
And that balance, I really think, not only does it take a good actor, but someone like Hugh Grant really kind of ups it a bit and really plays off of it. And I mean, honestly, I'm sure they're all probably having a good time, but I think he's having probably the best.
Yeah. Don't you fall asleep.
Oh, sorry, it's 3 p.m.
Talking about Hugh Grant and how mesmerizing his performance was, and how he kind of was the pleasant surprise of the movie. What's, like, I say Hugh Grant, what's the first role that comes to mind for you?
Probably About a Boy.
About a Boy.
Yep.
Really?
I just feel like that was one of his ones where he kind of, it wasn't Four Weddings and a Funeral, and it's when he kind of came back with the different attitude, I felt like. But I really liked that movie. So that's the first thing I think of.
I thought about Love Actually. Never even seen that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just heard about it?
I just feel like Hugh Grant's not one of those heavyweight guys that you think about for a role like this. Like, I felt like there was a little bit of creativity behind that casting.
But I will say, here in the past probably couple of years, he's kind of come around to different stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Amazon Prime has a Very English Scandal.
No.
And he plays this gay closeted politician, and then like the lover comes out, and he plays a real villain in that one. And I think some roles like that have kind of opened up people's eyes. I don't know if you've seen it, but he's actually really great in Paddington 2.
Really?
He's a villain in Paddington 2 as well, but he's a very, like, this washed up actor who still thinks he's famous. Like, he really played it up for all his worth. So, like, honestly, I feel like between that and A Very English Scandal, this transition into this role, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Do you think this is like do you say Hugh Grant's back for stuff like this, or do you think?
I do. I think he's kind of embraced a whole new kind of character that I think when he was doing Love Actually and Four Weddings and a Funeral, we talked about Notting Hill. That's not what he did. And, he all the way up to, 2 Weeks Notice and Music and Lyrics of Drew Barrymore. I mean, but then something kind of, Bridget Jones. But he kind of made the star, which that's when, like, About a Boy kind of stands out because it's a little different from that.
Yeah.
But I really do think with some of the stuff that he's done here recently, I would say he's kind of going down a new path that I think is really bringing out some of the best work of his.
I said I was a fan of Charlie Hunnam in this movie because I felt like you got the perspective of the story from his character, from Ray. And I think going back and forth with Hugh Grant kind of dictated. I mean, they were the ones telling the story, so to speak. What do you think his potential is as a lead guy? Because he's kind of in that weird kind of zone where he doesn't have a whole lot of big movie roles. He's kind of a TV guy still at this point. Do you think that's fair to say? Or
I do, and I think they've tried it before with him. I think they've tried it with Pacific Rim.
Yeah,
I think that I think they really was hoping for something with, and actually Guy Ritchie directed this, the King Arthur movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hasn't connected.
Yeah.
And I think they, to go off the success of TV and to make that transition to movies probably seemed like it would be like, that would be the next best thing, but it doesn't always happen like that. And I think I kind of respect him doing like Lost City of Z and doing this movie. Like, he's not taking on that action movie pretty boy type. Like, I think he is kind of trying to take some risks now. I think maybe, I don't know. I mean, I like him, but I also, again, with the movies I've named, how much of an impact has he really had?
Yeah.
He's still remembered for TV, and I don't know if he'll ever break free of that.
Wasn't he supposed to play the dude in 50 Shades of Grey at one point?
Yes, and he turned it down.
That would have been fucking weird.
It would have been weird, but honestly, I hope he has no regrets, because I think he's probably respected more for not doing it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So yeah, I don't blame him for that. But I think depending on the material you give him, I think he's very capable of it.
Yeah.
But it seems like the more mainstream he does, the more that it doesn't necessarily equal big box office.
And I think that was sort of probably the initial thought with him, is that, hey, we're going to ride this wave and put him in these leading roles, and it didn't equate to box office dollars. But he keeps doing shit like this. I think he's got a little path that he can kind of work his way in there and see what happens.
And I think you try these big budget ones, it doesn't work, so you end up kind of going into working with certain directors and everything, and that's where you get I think that's where he's got most of his critical acclaim. So I think he's all right. He's a nice mixture in this movie, so I think it was a good choice to have him in it, and he definitely helps the movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, Hugh Grant, is my favorite, but Charlie Hunnam definitely plays a big part, and to his credit, it's a lot of the stuff that you like in it. He's definitely falls on that side.
I would say there's not a whole lot that's particularly interesting about his character. I think it's kind of one-dimensional in his role.
It is.
They did little things to make him kind of stand out, like his squinting thing whenever he started getting nervous or whatever. I thought that was a nice little quirk, but he was given a very important role in this movie, and I think he knocked it out of the park. I
would agree. I was going to say, he is kind of essentially the bodyguard.
Yeah.
But he does, he definitely is makes whatever he has of his character useful, and definitely, it's a standout performance, sure.
Talking about standout performances, do you think there was anybody in this cast specifically that was an outright show stealer?
I would probably say, which I have a feeling we're going to agree on this, I'd probably say Colin Farrell.
Coach.
Hugh Grant, because of what we previously discussed, is not really a scene stealer. He actually has a lot for it.
Important.
But yes, I would say Colin Farrell definitely uses up every second that he's on screen, and I'm glad he was able to do it, because he makes an amazing addition to that cast.
I'm 100% in agreement with you there. Another interesting career trajectory. I'm going to write his name down. We might have to do a full episode on him at some point, because
he has a lot of different stuff.
And early on, it started to look like, oh, he's going to be this guy. And then he kind of, took a break and then came back and started doing some of the weird stuff. And it's like we're starting to see him manifest himself into what we thought he was going to be when he was a young up-and-comer all those years ago.
I respect the hell out of him, because he could have gone in one direction and didn't.
Yeah.
And then now there's not a movie you can't see him in.
Oh,
if anybody's ever seen, he was Bullseye in Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of got his first big movie role with Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's also done movies like In Bruges, The Lobster.
The Lobster is what came to mind for me.
The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah.
And now
was he in? Was it The Home at the End of the World or whatever? Was that him?
Yeah. And now, but he's also doing The Batman. He's also in The Gentleman. And he's done Fright Night and even the newer version of Total Recall. So he bounces back and forth, and I feel like he kind of I think has it right. Now, they haven't all been great movies, but at the same time, I think for every big budget one, he does two small ones, and I think he's great in both. But I think he's kind of flexing his acting muscles and not just doing stuff for, as some people would say, for the money.
Yeah.
So I respect him, and the way his whole, you want to talk about style, him and his posse, their whole style and everything, it was one of a kind. I enjoyed it.
It was a very nice touch.
It was. I agree.
Very nice touch to the movie. Moment of truth time. The star rating. #VixFlix. What do you have? Let's get the big reveal.
I'm probably would settle somewhere between 3 and 3.5. I don't think it's. I think it definitely deserves a 3, if not a 3.5. But like I said, it's good, not great. I think there's a lot of stuff that I was left still wanting, so I couldn't really put it in the 4 region.
That's pretty wild to me, because I was thinking about it on the way over here, and I said I would probably give it a 3.5. And I feel like I enjoyed the movie a lot more than you did.
Yeah, and
we end up at the same spot.
I think, well, and I guess for me, I kind of judge that like anything that if it can't crack 3, then there's some disappointment. There's a lot, probably a lot of stuff I wouldn't forgive a movie for. Anything past 3 and above is really one of those, like, it's pretty good. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say nitpicking, because to me, if I really still liked it, it would definitely have earned a solid 4. But yeah. It is that, it's that in between of stuff that it like I said, there's a lot of stuff to like, but I also can't say that for the director and what he's capable of and the cast that he got, it could have gone to another level that it didn't. So in a way, it kind of plays it safe in the type of movie that Guy Ritchie is famous for.
Yeah.
But doesn't seem to go all the way this time.
I mean, it's as simple as, hey, there's a disappointing 3.5, and there's a surprising 3.5.
Yeah, that's true.
So where would you rank this among Guy Ritchie's portfolio?
It's probably right there in the middle, to be honest. I've just like, essentially kind of my rating is the same thing I feel with its placement within the filmography of Guy Ritchie, because I guess for me, you didn't really know what to expect. So you have Snatch 2, Lock, Stock, 2 Smoking Barrels. For me, Rock and Rolla is one of my favorites. I don't think it captures that. I don't think it reaches that level. Just because, now again, if he released Snatch now, I don't know if I would like it as much as he did back then. But it was so different in the way that he does it with his dialogue and his storytelling. Yeah. So now that we're used to it, you kind of expect more, and I think that's where The Gentleman kind of falls a little bit. But is it better than King Arthur? Yes. Is it better than Aladdin? Oh, hell yes.
Oh, so, I still can't believe he actually did Aladdin.
I know, you would never know it, but I feel like for every Aladdin, he can do movies like this one, and these are the ones that I rather see.
There you go. Any parting shots this movie?
Yeah, I wouldn't say don't go see it. I do think it is worth seeing. It is a fun movie.
I was about to say, it was a fun night at the movies.
I think some of the surprises really aren't surprising. I think there's some stuff at the end that I'm not really sure. I think we could have done without.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the same time, like we talked about, the style of it is very unique. It's very attractive in a lot of ways, and the cast is great, and I mean, I would tell you just to go see it for Hugh Grant. So
yeah,
I would definitely say I would go to the theater still to see it.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Vix Flix podcast. The Gentleman is in theaters now, so go check it out while you can. Brandon, remind our listeners where they can reach you on Twitter.
At Sir Brandon V, #VixFlix for all the up-to-date current reviews.
And I am at Stoney Keeley. Collectively, we are at Sobros Movies and at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. You can check out all of our latest work at SobrosNetwork.com. Check out all of our latest merch at SobrosShop.com. And you can sign up to join the Sobros family through Patreon. Gain exclusive access to the Sobros team through a Patreon-only Slack group, and instantly gain access to over 150 items of premium content created strictly for our Patreon subscribers. That's patreon.com/Sobros Network. For Brandon Vick, I am Stoney Keeley, and until next time, you stay classy, moviegoers.